Okay, everyone, let's grab our seats. It's officially 8:30 p.m. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. How you all doing? Welcome home. You're here. Quick announcement next week. We always forget to do this at the end. Dave S. is coming down from Connecticut. He's got a powerful message, just like all our speakers do. We really love being here early, so if you'd like to hang out and come meet with us before the meeting and after the meeting, we're always here having fun, laughing, and enjoying sobriety. We have a commitment. This group has a commitment every Sunday at the treatment center. We carry a message of hope and recovery there. If you're interested in that, see me after the meeting. We can always use no time requirement, no credentials, no signs, no forms to sign or pledges to take. Just want to come up and be of service and let God work through you. It's pretty powerful. This group has purchased in the last year 500 big books. We give them away for free at these treatment centers, and it's through your donations and support that has been able to make that possible for us and for the sick and suffering to hear a message of hope and recovery. And with that, I believe we have the greatest chairperson on the East Coast. Let's please welcome our Southern Belle, Kara. Give her a warm welcome.
Hello everybody, my name's Kara and I am an alcoholic. Good to see everybody. Welcome home. Now I gotta put my glasses on so I can read. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. and speaker at 8:30 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Please raise your hand.
Hi, my name's Henry. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey Henry, welcome. On the side, please. Hey Kristen, welcome. Behind Noel, please.
Hi, Jerry, alcoholic.
Hey Jerry, welcome. And the red shirt, please. Hey Bill, welcome.
Hello, I'm Alvin O'Malley.
Welcome. Welcome everybody.
I'm Chelsea.
Oh, hi Chelsea. I'm so sorry. Welcome. Hey Julie, welcome. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and willing to sponsor please raise their hands? Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Our sister group is a big book study meeting that meets every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. just up the street at Salem UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, Doylestown. Coffee is on at 6:15 p.m. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purpose of big books and CDs to help those who cannot afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. All CDs are available free of charge. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown PM has a Facebook. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed and share upcoming events and meetings. Now I would like to introduce a good friend of mine to come up. His name is Brian, and he will come up to read Just for Today Prayer Recovery. Let's give Brian a warm welcome. Woo-hoo!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. This is Just for Today, a prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly. talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anyone, or not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. With that, I believe Sherry's going to come up here. She's going to read our AA preamble.
Hi, I'm Sherry, I'm an alcoholic. The AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. And I have Michelle coming up to read the AA 12 Steps of Recovery.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle and I'm an alcoholic. And these are the AA 12 Steps of Recovery. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I'd like to bring Kara back up. Thank you.
The 7 traditions state, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big book CDs, events and workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, the most important part of our meeting, I'd like to introduce Julie. She came all the way from Harrisburg. Let's please give Julie a warm welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm Julie McKelvey and I am an alcoholic. And I first want to thank Ron for inviting me to be here. When I said yes, I had no idea it was 2 hours away. But that's what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. The way that I was raised is just say yes, and you figure it out later. Beautiful meeting facility, beautiful church, Doylestown. I came in and Ron forced a cronut on me and I said, have you ever had one? I said, no. And he said, you're going to have a spiritual experience in a minute. I promise. And I did. I was outside. I brought my beautiful friend and sponsee Chelsea with me. And the great thing about speaking and traveling is that you grab one or more or whoever will come. And if it's someone you sponsor, you can hold them hostage, and eventually the truth comes out after the end of the drive. My sobriety date is June 12th, 1995. My home group is the Big Book Study Group West in Camp Hill. We meet on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, and we study the Big Book. And we read we read a paragraph, and we talk about it. In some meetings we get through one chapter or one paragraph, and other meetings we get through a couple, but we talk about the Big Book. And the most beautiful thing after this long being sober is that every time we get to the beginning, it takes about a year to go through the first 164, which is what we focus on. I have a new experience with that Big Book, and I hope that never stops. And the things that pop out to me today are the things that are supposed to pop out to me today based on what God wants me to hear. And that's a pretty cool thing, because when I got here, I can tell you that I wanted nothing to do with that book, these steps, God, you, or anyone else. I wanted to get the heat off, learn how to pay the bills, drink like a lady, and find a man. And what I got was something totally different. I have a sponsor. My sponsor actually spoke here a couple weeks ago, Brian D. My sponsor knows everything that's going on with me at all times, more than he probably wants to. But I have a relationship with my sponsor, and I haven't always had relationships with sponsors. I sponsor a group of women. They sponsor women. Those women sponsor women, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. When they told me at the beginning that the bright spot of my life would be watching others grow in Alcoholics Anonymous, I really didn't believe you, and today it truly is. Because I had no interest in helping anyone but myself for a long time, and even into sobriety. So my first drink was probably like a lot of people. I was 14. I was in a cemetery, sitting between some gravestones, and I drank an Old Mill Pounder, and that was the beginning. And it tasted horrible. I thought I was going to throw up, but I couldn't wait to get more. And it's interesting now that cemetery is now right next to the Big Book group that a few of us started after a period of time in AA with not very many literature-based meetings. And so we meet there, and every week I go to that meeting and I see that headstone where I had my first drink, and that's pretty amazing. I was a blackout drinker from the beginning. There was no gradual anything for me. I blacked out. I drank as much as I could. I threw up. I kept doing it again and again and again. I was in high school. I was a flag twirler, in the middle of the football game. And at that point, I graduated to Southern Comfort, which to this day, I just can't even. It was so vile, but it was so good. And it really worked because the beer just kind of wasn't working anymore. Anyway, we're in the halftime thing, and I'm so hungover from the night before and had been out all night and woke up where I didn't know where I was, people I didn't know who I was with, the whole nine. And I'm out there doing this flag throwing thing, and I just start violently puking in the middle of this football field, and just horrified. It's all over me. It's all over the field. We're trying to just get through this performance, and I went home and I slept it off, and then I did it again that night, and I kept doing it. I grew up in an alcoholic household. My one or both of my parents were drinking and doing other things. For most of what I can remember, I was very violent. My father got very angry when he drank, and Christmas trees thrown out the window and light bulbs thrown out if you leave too many lights on in the house, and in the whole nine. And he ended up going to rehab and getting sober, and then my mom was sober, and then she relapsed, and so by the time we got to high school, she had relapsed and they had divorced, and our house became the party house because Mom would go out with her friends and we'd be rolling a keg in the back door, and I thought, I have arrived. I am the cool kid. Everybody wants to come to Julie's house and party. And it worked. Alcohol worked for me for a long time. I was a better version of myself. I had friends. I was funny. I was pretty. I could have conversations. I think we've all had that experience where it worked for a period of time, but it really was my solution. because I felt like I belonged to something. I could breathe and I could feel okay in my own skin. And in high school, I was so desperate to fit in. I was really into the Grateful Dead, so I was a hippie over here and listening to the Grateful Dead with the hippies and hanging out on the corner doing the things hippies do on corners. And then over here, I was a punk rocker and I had this spiked hairdo with this. And then over here, I'm trying to fit in with the athletes, and over here, I'm trying to fit in with the band people, and I'm just desperate for anyone to love me. And so when I drank, I could be all those things at once, and nobody really cared. I barely graduated high school, and I went to college, and I went to the only college that would accept me, and I had to go to the summer program in advance, and I got there, and it was like heaven. There is parties, there is booze, there is men, there is every other thing I could want. And I hooked up with a guy in a fraternity, and I never drank with girls because they're lame, to be honest. They're lame. And I want to drink with the boys, and I want to do the beer bongs, and so I hang out at this fraternity, and I become a little sister of this fraternity, and I was it. And I'm like, I don't have to deal with the girls, I'm hanging with the guys, I can get just totally wasted, drunk, and fit right in. And my alcoholism really started to take off. I never considered that it was a problem for me. Everybody else in my life was the problem, you know. But I'm starting to not go to class, I'm starting to not show up, and when I'm planning my classes for the next semester, I'm definitely not taking a morning class because there's no way I'm going to get there. So I'm going to take afternoon classes, and then I'm still not getting there. And I'm hanging out with this fraternity guy, and my drinking is escalating, and it's almost on a daily basis at this point. And I'm at a party, and I had a thing for another guy, even though I had a boyfriend. That was a pattern of mine for a long time. Didn't really matter whether I had a commitment to someone or not. I want to get what I want and go after it. And I'm at this party with some girlfriends, and there's grain punch, and I never drank grain. And there's big trash cans of grain punch with like fruit floating around on the top, you know. And someone said, "Would you like some?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so I start drinking it, and I forget everything. My girlfriends decide it's time to leave, because they're kind of normal. It's like 2 a.m. at this point. And I said, "No, I'm going to stay because this guy's here." And I come to, and I'm in a dark room, and I'm being gang raped. And I was terrified. And I didn't know how long I had been blacked out. And I came to, grabbed whatever clothing I could find on the floor, and ran out of there as fast as I could. I tried to press charges against these people. I get to the police station, and they have a polygraph test that I'm going to take. And the tester says, "Are you sure you didn't give consent? Do you remember saying no?" I said, "It's never something I would say yes to." He said, "I'm asking you if you remember saying no." I said, "No, I don't." And the whole thing was dropped, right? I used that, fast forward, for the next 10 years of my life as a reason to get attention from every other man I could get. A lot of it was real. It was trauma, obviously. But I used that as a reason to block everybody else in my life, and my drinking went to a whole nother level at that point. Barely graduate college, that's another theme for me. I barely get by. Like, my whole thing is I just barely do it, like I'll stick it out and do the bare minimum. I was all about the bare minimum. And I get out of college, and I get, an internship, and I'm living at home, and I'm now losing my license from driving. I get a DUI, I turn the wrong way on an interstate, and I'm driving in an ambulance with the lights on, is coming right towards me. And I almost killed, I don't know how many people. And I came to, or I was fingerprinted in the whole thing, and I came to at home, and I was at my mom's house. She goes, "We gotta go get your car. Where's your car?" And I had no idea where this had happened. And that was really the first time I was like, I don't know if this is normal. Not positive, but I don't think this is normal. Kept right on drinking. At this point, I'm 22, maybe 23. And my drinking takes on another level, and my using outside issues takes on another level. And that's a big part of my story, because those outside issues allowed me to drink more. Because I was up against it where I run out of energy when I'm drinking, right? So we've got to fix that problem so I can keep on drinking. And I was hopeless. But on the outside, you would never know it. I was all about wearing the right thing, looking the right way, saying the right thing, being associated with the right people, but inside I'm dying. And I can't stop drinking. And every time I made a decision, I wasn't gonna do it again. I'm not doing it again. I'm not gonna drink today. I can't stick to that decision. I'm great at stopping, I just can't stay stopped. But I still think it's because I don't really wanna quit. I never had heard that it's a disease or any of that. And it keeps getting worse. I'm now working for my father's business. I'm now dealing out of one of his offices. I'm now using the company car to deal. I'm now driving drunk all the time. I'm now not showing up at work. I've got my own office. I have patients that I'm responsible for, and I can't show up. And it's my grandmother died, my cousin died, so many people had died. My receptionist was like, wow, you really had some tragedy, all these people. I'm like, I gotta change it. So, but it was always something. And I would come to, and the pattern was every day I would come to, and I'd be like, oh God, I can't go. Until I just stopped going. My father said to me at one point, he's sober now, he's telling me he's sober. And he says, if you want to figure out if you have a problem, quit drinking for 30 days. And then try to manage your drinking. It's like, 30 days? Yes, no problem. So I make it. I'm not completely sober, but I'm not drinking alcohol. So in my mind, I'm doing what he asked. And I get to the 29th day, and I go with my girlfriend to Ocean City, Maryland, I think it was. And it's day 29, right? And we go into the grocery store, and there's all the liquor. And so we're going to buy all the stuff for day 30, because I can drink on day 30. So we load up the shopping cart, and of course what happened when we got to the place was I drank, right? It's day 29, it's right there, I got it. I don't have a problem, but I didn't listen to the second part of that, try to manage your drinking. I don't know how to do that, I'm not interested in that. I want as many as you can give me, and that's not even enough. Until there's nothing left, or I pass out. That's how I drink. I watched people drinking a part of a glass of whatever and leaving it there, and it was so baffling to me. I would drink it, even if somebody had spit in it. It didn't matter. Whatever it is, I'm gonna drink it because I can't stop. And so it was end of May, close to Memorial Day in 1995, and I'm living in this apartment. I'm now not leaving the apartment, really, hardly at all. My drinking friends, who I'm comparing myself to justify my behavior and the way that I drink, don't even want to hang out with me. The door's locked, the trash is piled up on the balcony, the answering machine's on, the blinds are pulled, I'm in this dark, horrible apartment by myself, thinking it's really okay, it's not that bad. I'll get to work tomorrow. I opened the blinds, and it's this apartment complex, and I'll never forget it. I looked out, and I saw this family, this mom and this dad and these two kids walking to the pool. It was a Saturday or something. And I was like, I'm so far away from that. How are you outside right now walking to, it was so profound to me. That I am in trouble. Something's going on. That should not be a reaction that you have when you open your window, And it was a couple days later, and I came to, and I picked up the phone to make the same phone call I had made for weeks in a row about not being able to get to work, and I was done. And that morning was no different than any other morning. It wasn't like I had an accident there was no big thing that happened that morning. that was different. I just knew I knew I was going to die or stop. And I said, God, please help me. And I didn't believe in God. And 2 days later, I'm in a rehab, Marworth, up in northern Pennsylvania. And they couldn't get me a bed for 2 days. And so I spent 2 days somehow white knuckling it, staying sober. But I spent 2 days meticulously picking out my rehab outfits because that is what matters. How do I look when I walk into that rehab? So sick. And I walk in and they call me Barbie and I'm so offended. I'm like, wow. And then they took my perfume and then they took my hairspray. I'm like, I'm not like that. Who drinks, what? And then they send me to the room and they put me with a heroin addict. And I'm like, I walk out to the nurse's station. I said, I think I overreacted a little. I think I got this. Like, I'm good. I don't need to be here. This is a little extreme. She said, go back to your room, honey. And I stayed there. And I looked at the steps on the wall, and I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Don't want any parts of this. I didn't want to take direction. I didn't want to be there. I didn't believe I was an alcoholic at all. I believed I was other things. I believed I needed to learn how to manage it a little better, like get control, do it a little more successfully maybe. But when I went there, I had no intention of stopping drinking at all. And thank God it wasn't a requirement. I did my first, it was a first step, and it was writing about the unmanageability in your life. And it was the first time that I had really had to write out what that looked like for me. How many broken promises, how many times I couldn't show up for people, how many lies I had told, how many, I couldn't show up for my family. I don't want to hurt my family, right? The pattern would be there's the family event, so I got to get ready. Right? I got to start drinking to make myself okay to go to the family event, right? And I'm looking for the sweet spot, right? And then I can leave, and then I overshoot the mark, and now I can't go. So now I got to make up the excuse over and over and over and over again. So many broken promises to them. And so I'm in rehab, and I was traveling around before then and going to see the Grateful Dead and hugely into them. It's a big part of my story. And my counselor said, you're never going to be able to listen to the Grateful Dead again. It's going to be a trigger. I was like, what? I'm 27. I can't listen to the Dead. You're now telling me I can't drink or do anything else. I have to change my friends. I've got to change everything about my life, but don't take my music. And obviously everybody in here knows that is not true. Opening my eyes is a trigger, for the love, right? Like, I mean, if that's a requirement, what am I going to do? There's a guy in there, we have the same release date. I'm like, it's meant to be me and this guy. I mean, it's forever, for sure. It's a sign. And we get out. And we start a relationship, and I'm not taking any directions at all. I believed by the time I was out of that 30-day treatment facility, I got what I needed from there, because I was fully convinced to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic, powerless over alcohol, and I had seen the unmanageability of my life, and I was ready to take direction. I wasn't ready to go to AA, the A&A thing, but I know I'm on board with the fact that I can never do this again, right? And so I start this relationship with this guy, which was just, you know how it goes, same thing, right? He relapses, he blames it on me. I almost relapse because I feel guilty and responsible for this guy, which is why they say it's not a good idea to do that. And I'm in outpatient therapy. I'm not going to AA, don't need it. They keep talking about AA. It's like, all right, I'll go. I walk in, I walk around the table, and I walk right out. I don't need this. It's a bunch of old people sitting around drinking coffee and telling me I can't listen to the Grateful Dead. I'm not interested in this. I've got it. Keep going to outpatient. I want to drink every second of every day. Every second. It never left me. And I was convinced that's the way my life is going to look. I'm always going to want to drink. You guys are all lying. You're all lying. You're not really as happy as you say you are. Finally, I'm so desperate, so I go to AA, and I sit at the table, and it's a meeting at the time that is, everybody's talking about their problems. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. And so I sat around those tables, and I whined about my problems. Jerry Garcia had died now, it's 1995, right? And I've got to just, it's just horrible for me. Feel bad for me, please, someone. And I had women there that loved me until I could love myself. I did not have anybody in my face with a big book. I did not work the steps right away. I do not recommend this because I wanted to drink every single day. I'm going to meetings every day. I'm going to the Howard Johnsons afterwards to have coffee. I'm horrified. It's like the worst thing ever. But I'm staying sober. And finally I asked this woman to sponsor me, and she was of the belief of, take it slow. It's not a race. A step a year. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. I still want to drink every day. The obsession to drink is not leaving me. I'm begging people, I'm saying, how do I make this stop? Finally, she says to me, get on your knees at night, say thank you, keep me sober. Please help me keep me sober tomorrow. And I was expecting this, this whole thing that didn't happen, but I kept doing it. And then one day, I'm driving at happy hour time, and my car wanted to go to that bar. It's where I went. Happy hour turned into closing the bar, right? We know how that goes. And I'm driving, and my car goes the other way, and I go home. And I don't even think about it. And the obsession was gone. And it has not come back. And I barely did anything except show up. So we get to the fourth step. I'm now 2 years sober. And we get to the fourth step, and she says, write down a list of every bad thing you've done in your life. I was like, okay. It was kind of like freeing, I felt better. I tell you all the bad stuff I've done in my life and all the people I'm mad at. There was no looking back, fourth column, any of that. And then we burnt it. It was very ceremonial. And I'm so grateful to that woman. I went through years of having to write inventory and resentful at her because she didn't get me into the book right away. How dare she? She was passing on the only thing that she knew. It's not the way I work it today. It's not the way I walk people through it today, but it was my experience. And I don't know why I stayed sober. I don't know how. I really don't. It was God. It was God's grace is all I can say. But I was not okay inside. Then that same sponsor told the worst thing on my inventory to my mother. Just crushed me. And so I fired her. See ya. And I went the next 5 years without a sponsor and without the steps. The only thing I was doing in those 5 years, first of all, I had met my husband at this point. After I finally stopped looking for a man, I found one. And he's the exact opposite of anybody I'd ever dated. And we'll have 23 years married, sober together next week. And I can't believe it. So we're 5 years, and I'm with my husband, and we had moved in, and we got married, and we start building a home, right? I'm like, I'm good, right? All these things are falling into place. I got money in the bank, I'm driving a nice car, I look good, feel good, I'm good. And then I get pregnant. And I realize I am not good. And I am full of the most fear that I'd ever felt in my life. The fear of being a mother. The fear of bringing a child into this world with 2 alcoholics. The fear I can't do it. The fear I'm not good enough. The fear I'm gonna da-da-da-da-da-da. Insanity. And my girlfriend who lived up the road was being sponsored by this woman, Valerie, from Richmond. Beautiful soul. And Valerie was coming to do a big book study at her house. She said, "You want to come?" So what is it? She goes, "It's a big book study." I'm like, "Okay." She said, "Bring your big book." I said, "I don't even know where it is." She goes, "Well, find it and bring it." I'm like, okay. I hadn't touched it since rehab. You know, and in the book, it's everybody had signed the big book, and I love you, you love me, we're going to stay sober forever, and all that stuff. I'm like, wow. And I went to, and I sat down on the floor, and she opened to the title page, and she explained what the circle and triangle was, and I had no idea what Alcoholics Anonymous was. No idea. And we started going through the book, and I was having like this major spiritual awakening around it. We're reading We Agnostics in the big book. I'd never read the book. Never read it. And I asked her to be my sponsor. And she said, "Okay, here's how this is going to go. We're going to have regular contact. We're going to have a relationship. We're going to go through this page by page, line by line. When it says write, we write. When it says pray, we pray. When it says go here and do that, we go here and we do that. Are you on board with that?" I'm like, "Yes." Because I'm so afraid of bringing a child into this world. I'll do anything. And it was an absolutely unbelievable experience. So I have that baby. I'm still pregnant. And my husband had 3 years when he really 13 stepped me, but he doesn't think so, but I think he did. I had 9 months, he had 13. Where's the line? I don't know. It worked out, but he had 3 years sober, and we're living this sober life. And he had always said to me, you know, we see these people that come in that relapse, and one day later they come back in. And he always said, "God, I don't understand that. If I relapse, I'm going to get my money's worth. I'm staying out there as long as I can." I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm 7 months pregnant at this point. He's not in the bed. I go downstairs. The front porch light is on. I open the door, and he's sitting there drinking a glass of wine. And I'm like, oh my God, it's me and this baby. This is all I've ever known is him sober. And he picks up a 24-hour chip the next day, and he just celebrated 20 years last week. And again, full of fear. Now I have this new sponsor in my life, right, who's going to teach me the tools of how to deal with this. Whether he's drunk or sober, I can be okay. Whether he's in my life or out of my life, I can not only be okay, but I can be fulfilled, sober, happy, joyous, and free. My happiness does not depend on anyone other than me and my relationship with my higher power and how willing I am to be honest. So we dive into Alcoholics Anonymous. At the same time, this is still all before I have Jake. This all happens in 3 months. Glenn, who spoke here a couple weeks ago, gets out of treatment in Ingram, Texas. And he's sponsored by Chris Raymer. I don't know if anybody, I think he's been here, actually. He says, "Hey, we're all kind of now on this page." I get out. I had sponsored a bunch of women, but I didn't know what I was doing because I was never taken through the steps, right? So I remember a couple of them asked me, and I'm like, oh God, I got to at least look like I know what I'm doing. So I went online and I ordered all these self-help books and all these books about sponsorship, and I'd never done the work. And I sit on the floor and all the books are around me. I'm getting the best sponsor ever. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even know what happened to those women. So we're in this area where there's no literature-based meetings, and we're talking to Chris and Myers, and we're like, we go up to Fellowship of the Spirit in New York, and we hear this message. Chris, Myers, and Peter were speaking, and I had like an out-of-body experience. I'm like, this is Alcoholics Anonymous. This doesn't exist where we are. How do we get this here? We're like ready to just ditch everybody and start our own group. We have no idea how to do that, but we want to start our own group, and we want it to be about the big book. And Chris and Myers both said the same thing. They're like, no. First, you go to your home group, you go to the business meeting at your home group, and you make a suggestion about literature-based meetings and see what they say. So we did, and they said, no thanks. So we said, see you later. And we started our own group, which is still in existence today and has grown into 3 other groups. So just having an unbelievable experience and going back to these women after I came back from Fellowship of the Spirit, and I'm like in their face with the book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've missed it the whole time. Here's how we're going to do this now. And they're like, whoa, lady, like, no. And I went to the other extreme, of course, because that's what we do. So I go from doing nothing to going to the extreme of, if it's not in the book, right, I'm ridiculous about the directions. I have no tolerance for anything else, right? It's not very attractive to people, right? And it's also not very spiritual. So I went crazy with my ego. I went crazy in sponsoring women. I was very attached to how many I had and what that looked like. And it wasn't all for the right reasons. And then I had to gradually get back into the middle where I am today around everything. My relationship with my sponsor was remote, and it worked for a long time until it didn't work anymore, and I needed to change sponsors. By this time, I had 2 children, and we have this beautiful life, and everything's going well, except for I am moving myself away from Alcoholics Anonymous very, very slowly. My meetings start dropping off 1 a week, and 2 a week. Now I'm not really talking to my sponsor, maybe once every week, then it's once every 2 weeks, then it's once a month, then it's no meetings, it's fellowship only. I'm fellowshipping, I've got a whole new group of people. I'm going to the dances, I'm planning rafting trips, we're having parties at our house. But now I'm not doing the 11th step in the morning, I'm not praying and meditating. And I'm falling off, and I can't even see it. And something happens, and I realize that I need to go in a different direction, and I asked for Brian to be my sponsor. And Brian had just been through his son hitting bottom and getting sober, and I didn't even know it at the time. Brian and I start working together. I get on fire again for Alcoholics Anonymous. My whole time has been like this. And I thought it should be like this. And it's not like this. That's not my experience. I mean, I'm grateful for that because God has always shown me an opportunity to grow and develop. And I thought when I get to a certain number of years, I'm going to be all, spiritual all the time. That's not been the case either for me. I am most of the time. But my problem is myself. I am selfish and self-centered at my core. No matter how spiritual I was yesterday, I wake up today an alcoholic. If I don't do the things that I need to do, I'm going to hit the world focused on Julie. That is my problem. My problem is focusing on me. My solution is focusing on you. It does not come naturally for me as an alcoholic. I'm selfish in my relationship with my husband, with my kids, with my friends, with my employees. That's how I am. That's how I hit the world, and that's my comfort zone. And it's very difficult for me to not be that way. I have no way of doing that on my own without God's help. I am an expert at being anywhere except where I am. Anybody relate to that? I'm back here, I'm up here, I'm over there, I'm in next week. We got to the 3rd step. I could not get on board with this whole idea of God's will. Like, I don't understand it. It's you tell me to do these certain things, and then it should just come naturally for me. I don't know the difference between my will and God's will. How do I know the difference? And I struggled with that for a long, long time. And the answer that was given to me was keep showing up and do the rest of the steps. Because the deal is the rest of the steps is where the answer is. The rest of the steps is where the freedom is. Doing a 4 full column inventory and turning around and looking at myself and what my part is unblocks me from God. I don't want to do those things. I don't. But that's what I have to do if I want to grow. And then I have to be honest with another human being, and then I have to go clean up my mess. I was in Stone Harbor last week, and I thought I had, not last weekend, last year, I thought I had finished all of my amends, and I was a liar, a thief, and a cheat. That's the way I was, and I stole a lot of money. And I stole from a lot of stores, wherever I went, and I could afford to buy the things. It wasn't about that, it was about that I can. and that I'm somehow entitled to. And so I had this list of all these places that were closed, and the direction that was given to me by my sponsor was that money still needs to go back into the world. So we need to pray and figure out how you're going to get that money back into the world. So I did all that. And then we're in Stone Harbor. I'm with my husband, and we're walking down the street, and I see this store, Pete Smith's Surf Shop. I'm like, oh my God, it's still open. I thought it was closed. I could have said, well, I already put the money back into the world, right? But no, I walk in, I ask for the manager, I explain what I had done 20 years earlier, and I hand them $200. You know, like I'm always given the opportunity, if I'm paying attention, to do the next right thing. I'm missing so much stuff. My son, my oldest son, I came home 4 years ago now, and I found him in his room, wasted, really, really out of it. I had no idea he was even using or drinking. And that started trips to psychiatric facilities in the padded room, and the rehabs and the inpatients and the outpatients. And he'll have 4 years sober coming up. And he went to a sober living facility. He didn't have a choice because he's a minor, so that was good for me. Like, this is what we're doing. And we sent him to a sober living house. He was away from us for 9 months. COVID had happened. We weren't allowed to see him. And my boy is ripped away from me. He's going to high school while he's there. And I'm like, I will not give him to God. God, you can have this, all of it. You can have the business, the house, the money, the relationships, my life. I got him. I got it. I'm his mom. And I'm still struggling with that. And I just started working Al-Anon after 28 years sober, because I cannot connect the dots with this thing. And what an amazing opportunity to be humble enough to say, I can't do this either. I need help. I need help. I don't want to make it worse for him. You know? 5 years ago, my dad, who had, he was climbing mountains. He was an extreme sports guy. He, by the way, had told me he was sober my whole life, and he lied. He told me a couple years ago he had been drinking the whole time, and he just celebrated 2 years. My mom, I 12-step when I had 9 months, and she just died recently, and she died sober, with 27 years sober. But my dad was climbing mountains, and he said to me one day, I think I have one left in me, will you go? And I said yes, and I didn't know what that meant, and I went with my son, and we went to Japan, and we climbed this mountain, and I had this spiritual experience that I'd never felt anything like it in my life. And I wanted more. So I went to Kilimanjaro with a bunch of girlfriends, and I climbed to the top of Kilimanjaro. And I heard about the 7 summits, which is the highest peak on each continent in the world. And my guide said, you should think about this. And I'm like, well, I'm not an athlete. I'm like, what? What? And I said, yes. And I found God put the right people in front of me and the right situations over. It was so undeniable that I was supposed to go climb these big mountains, and I still don't know. I still don't understand it. I went to Denali, and then I went to Antarctica, and then I went and climbed. I just got back 10 weeks ago, and I summited Mount Everest. And I was gone for 2 months, and what I can tell you is there's no AA meetings on Mount Everest. If my sobriety is dependent on me going to meetings, I'm done. I had a Garmin satellite device. I don't have a cell phone that works. I mean, off and on I did. It was me and God in that tent. Me and God. And if I better have a relationship with a power greater than myself who can keep and restore me to sanity. I got sick in the middle of the expedition. I had to be helicoptered down to Kathmandu and hospitalized. I had a lung infection. Nobody gave me a prayer. I'm in this hotel room in Kathmandu. What's your will, God? For 5 years I've been trying to climb to the top of the world. I don't understand why. I don't know why I'm here. I'm so scared. Doctor says you got a 60% chance of this coming back, but I'll clear you. I fly back up to base camp. My guide then gets sick with the same thing I had. He gets flown down. The whole thing feels like it's about to cave in. I'm in the tent, I'm crying, I'm saying, God, whatever it is, if it's your will that if this isn't supposed to happen, I'm not gonna fight this. My guide gets better, he comes back up. We summit on the very last day of the season. I was terrified in moments, super scary. People are dying, there's dead bodies around me. And I had this unbelievable peace and faith. My mom had died just before I left. The last thing she asked me to do before she died, she said, take me up on that mountain with you. And I had her ashes in my backpack, and I got to the summit, and the first thing I did was put her on the summit. What a gift. We shortchange ourselves so much in Alcoholics Anonymous. If you had told me, again, I came here to get the heat off, pay the bills, find a man. My life. And it just keeps getting better. And it's because I've turned it over, and I keep turning it over. And I sponsor women. And that is the bright spot in my life today. Brighter than climbing that mountain. Because it gets me out of me. When I'm over here dealing with their stuff, they have a lot of stuff, so do I. God's over here dealing with my stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I still struggle with, I've got to figure it all out, and then I'll do it. And I finally am getting to the place of just saying, yes. You need a sponsor? Yes. You need a temporary sponsor? I don't do temporary sponsorship. I don't understand what that means. You want help? Are you willing to do this? You don't even have to call me your sponsor. I don't care. My job in Alcoholics Anonymous is not free. It's to give back. It's to get out of myself. It's to carry the message. It's to help a newcomer. It's never convenient, by the way. It's the other thing I thought, well, yeah, when it phone rings, I see it. Someone said to me, when that happens and you don't want to pick it up, which sometimes you don't, God calling. And I have to answer it. I mean, right? I gotta answer it then. And every time I answer it, I come out of that phone call, and whatever I was in the middle of that I thought was so important isn't. I've been given a life beyond my wildest dreams. Oh, I have one more summit. I'm going to do that in December with my husband and my kids. It's a little easy one in Australia. And I will have climbed all 7 summits in the world. And I'm super proud of that. And I don't understand, like I said, why. I've said yes, it's working out. And I'm an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a home group, I have a job in that home group, I show up at that home group whether I'm dead sick or, unless I'm dead sick or out of town. Those are my rules. My sponsor taught me that. It means something to show up, it means something to be here, it means something to give back. And it's been a long time since I thought about a drink. And as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I gotta worry more about me than I do about that right now, with the problem of me being so selfish and self-centered. And I think I'm supposed to end at 9:25, right? I love you guys, and you're fancy too, which I like. There's a lot of fancy pants here. I like it. I haven't seen that in a while. It's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. Thank you for asking me. I'm grateful to be sober, and that's all I have.
Let's have another round of applause for Julie. My name's Nick. I'm an alcoholic. Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Just an incredible, powerful message. Thank you so much. Just a couple quick announcements and we'll wrap it up. We do have a weekly step meeting here at 6 o'clock on Mondays, just in the other room here. Mondays at 6 o'clock, a step meeting. And then on Thursdays at Salem Church, we do a big book meeting similar to what she had spoke of. We go through the book line by line, paragraph by paragraph, and slowly have that experience that she spoke of. So come join us. And I'd like to thank anybody who helped out in the kitchen. Thank Ed and the coffee maker. And for those who care to join us, we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses,